Good morning. This is Lisa Condit. Thank you for tuning in to Behind the Scenes at the Hanover Theatre here on WCRN AM 830. And this morning, I've got Mark Volman, American rock and roll guitarist, vocalist, and songwriter. Some of you might think he's best known as a founder of the 1960s band The Turtles, and he's going to talk to us about our Happy Together tour. Welcome, Mark.
Good morning, and it's nice to be here with you.
Yes, so tell us a little bit about what it was like to found the Turtles. Boy, that must have been quite the experience.
Well, the Turtles was pretty much what probably 99% of American boys were doing back in the 1960s, which was starting bands in garages all over America.
Oh, that's great.
And we all went to high school together and sang in a cappella choir together, and we brought that singing style of harmonies to our music as the music changed. We had a West Coast, we lived on the West Coast in California, and so we were basically relegated to play a style of surfing music that didn't have a whole lot of vocals in it. And by about 1964, we began changing our style to be a lot more of a singing group, and then ultimately we were given the opportunity to do what everybody was trying to do, was make a record. And we recorded a song, 3 songs, and one of them became a very big hit record for us.
Well, I just absolutely love that hit, Happy Together.
Yeah, well, Happy Together was a process. I mean, that was a song that was part of our repertoire for about 8 months in a period of time when we were struggling to find a good record to be a hit record. And Happy Together, we were very fortunate. We had a pretty good initial run at the radio charts. We had 3 records that got into the top 10, and then we sort of stalled out for about 6 or 7 months where we released some songs, but they didn't do so well. But Happy Together changed that immediately.
What a great ride that must have been. Now, you've put together a blockbuster group of acts for this tour. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how that all came together?
Well, yeah, this is a continuation of an idea Howard and I sort of borrowed on back in the 1980s. We put together an idea to take out some bands from the 1960s, and we did a tour of the United States in 1984 and 1985, where we reached out to about 200 cities in the United States, and it was really fun. 1986, we decided to kind of put that tour aside, and about 7 years ago, the Turtles were invited to be part of another package tour around 2006. And for 3 years, we were part of a tour called Hippy Fest. And Hippy Fest was a little bit heavier tour. It was bands mostly from the 70s. But one of the things that we noticed every night was the response to the Turtles was really high. And the producers of the show came to us asking how we would feel about putting our name back into the marketplace with the Happy Together tours. And 4 years ago, we did. We took out our first Happy Together tour, and we've seen it grow from 16 cities, which was when we did the show 4 summers ago, to this year, which right now we're at around 57 cities in the United States we will do.
Wow.
And I think it's a building process with the bands that we've picked year to year. One of the things Howard and I made sure of when the promoters approached us was that we would have pretty much the final say of what groups we would offer to the marketplace. And I think we've done a better than average job of bringing together. And I think this year, could very well be one of the biggest Happy Together tours we've ever done. It's the show is doing well in pre-sales, and I think the artists play such a big part. I think the last few years of building this tour, that the fans who want to come and hear the music of the 1960s get to hear so much music in one show. We're not trying to do deep cuts or album cuts or B-sides. We're trying to offer the audience a night of pure memories of hit songs that are all probably top 5 records. And it's about 2.5 hours of about 40 top 10 records. And it's really fun. Even backstage every night, it's just exciting to hear the response to these great hit songs.
Oh, that's excellent. And just so everybody listening knows, you're going to be coming to the Hanover Theatre Tuesday, June 25th, and we have a 7:30 curtain time. And again, that's for Happy Together. If people want more information about the show, they can preview the show on our website, thehanovertheatre.org. They can also buy tickets right there or even call our box office at 877-571-SHOW. So tell us a little bit more about the other acts and what are some of your favorite parts of this overall performance. I know it's got to be tough when you're talking about top 5 albums, just 2.5 hours of the best songs of the 60s, but can you boil it down for us?
Well, I think one of the nice things is being put up in these really nice theaters. That's a real plus for these shows because it allows us to use projectors, which also tie together a lot of the visuals that we use from the 1960s, where you're listening to the artists today singing these songs. And we've tried to replicate these songs with the group that we've put together to be exactly like the way people remember them. We haven't tried to make it more modern. We haven't tried to make it heavier to fit a period of time. What we've really tried to do is really replicate the singles that people will remember, the recordings, and that's one of the things we spend a lot of time on in rehearsal. Also, you take an artist, like the artists on this particular tour, Gary Lewis and the Playboys, who will be the first act on the show this year. Gary had 7 #1 records.
Wow.
He was the only American artist that his first 7 records that he put out all went to #1. That's the artist that's going to basically kick off the show.
Wow.
Followed by Mark Lindsay, the voice of Paul Revere and the Raiders, with all of those great hits of his own, Arizona, Indian Reservation, Kicks, and so many great memories of the Paul Revere songs with Mark's voice. And then you got the great Gary Puckett. Now, Gary did last year's tour with us, and Gary is just a consummate professional. His songs have been a part of the American landscape. Young Girl, Woman, Lady Willpower, Don't Give It Into Him. I'm a huge Gary Puckett fan. And then Chuck Negron, the lead singer of Three Dog Night, which is just, for me, I grew up listening to the Beach Boys, and Three Dog Night were very good friends of ours. We were actually managed by the same management company for about 4 years. So getting back on the road with Chuck is just fantastic. Chuck sings all of the hits that they're known for, from One to Easy to Be Hard, Shambhala, Joy to the World. I mean, it's pretty scary to have to follow those 4 acts, and then they put us on, and we always we always come out with something pretty goofy to make the show. I think people think of the Turtles as Flo and Eddie as kind of there's a lot of fun, and we put some of the comedy that we're known for into the show, and we play all the hits, Happy Together, and She'd Rather Be With Me, and Eleanor. And when you do just this massive 2.5-hour presentation of hit after hit, people just leave feeling really good. And we do a encore all together where we all join each other singing parts of each other's songs, and it's really a fun night. It's so well put together. The production is really first class. It's not like a rock show in as much as we have a house band, which means that there's no time of having to change the bands. The singing, the lead singer front this really professional house band, and I think that makes everything, it all happens very quickly. There's no sitting around waiting for a whole new set of musicians to get in place or having to reset the equipment or anything like that. And the production is a little bit more polished, I guess you would say, in as much as that we've designed it to be really move along and be professional and keep things moving for the audience. Because, as you know, there's a tremendous amount of artists touring during the summer, and there's a lot of shows that you go out to see. And what we've tried to do is put together a show that, well, we've seen it now for the past 4 years. The audience, there isn't an act that doesn't walk off to a standing ovation, and the end of the night, people are up singing, and it's just been a fantastic experience.
Oh, that sounds...
We're really, really excited about this year. I think this is going to be a really, really great opportunity to get to a lot of new cities this year.
I wanted to thank you again, Mark, for taking the time to talk with us this morning, and we will look forward to seeing you at the theater. Is there anything that you want to leave our audience with?
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and we'll see everybody. Come on out, and in Wooster and the Turtles and Chuck Negron, and we'll all be happy together.